Okay, we're asked to simplify this expression, and we want it to be in a complex number form, a plus bi. So what I'm looking at, I probably want to get rid of those fractions in the numerator and denominator, and also the negative under the square root. So I may do that first. Let's get rid of the negatives under the square roots. And remember what square root of negative 1 is. That is I. And then square root of negative 4, we can break that into the square root of 4 times negative 1. So I have square root of 4, and I have square root of negative 1. Square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of negative 1 is 2i. Then I'm looking at this 4 and this 2. And if we want to find the lowest common multiple, we're looking at 4. So I'm going to multiply, not equals. We're going to multiply top and bottom by 4, because that's going to cancel out our fractions in the numerator and the denominator. So 4 times 3/4 is 3, and then 4 times negative I is negative 4i, over 4 times 2i is 8i, plus 4 times a half is 2. Now, in order to get rid of this 2 plus 8i, if I put it in the correct standard form, I want to multiply it by complex conjugate, which would be 2 plus 8i. I'm sorry, 2 minus 8i, not 2 plus. 2 minus, minus. And that makes the denominators, those are complex conjugates. And then we'll FOIL the numerators. So what do we get? When the denominator, remember when we multiply complex conjugates, the middle terms cancel out. So I'm only worried about the first term, which is 2 times 2, and then negative 64i squared. And remember, I squared is negative 1, so that will give me 4 plus 64, which is going to be 68. And then the numerator, we're going to FOIL, so I'll have 3 times 2, which is 6, negative 8i, negative 24i, plus 32i squared, plus 32i squared. And then we can simplify this into 6 minus 32, because remember, I squared is negative 1. And then negative 8i plus a negative 24i is negative 32i. And then 6 minus 32 is negative 26. So 6 minus 32 is negative 26 minus 32i. Now there's a couple of different ways we could approach this. I'm going to go ahead and break this into 2 fractions. And then we're going to reduce those 2 fractions. Okay, so there's my negative 26 over 38, and then a negative 32 over 68i. And then we need to figure out, well, what can we divide into 26 and 68? And 2 will divide into both of those. So that's 13 over 34. And that's really all we can reduce that one. And then 32 and 68, we need to figure out what we can divide into both of those. And I believe we can divide 4 into 68 and get 17. And then 4 into 32 is 8. So it looks like my final answer would be negative 13 over 34 minus 8 over 17